Thank you for joining us on Data Cloud Now, where we bring you the latest in all things data in business and industry. I'm Ryan Green, and today I'm joined by Kashish Gupta, founder and co-CEO of Hightouch, along with Tom Dineni, Director of Customer Intelligence Platform for Warner Music Group. Gentlemen, it's such a pleasure to have you on the program. To start with, why don't we give the audience a quick overview of both Hightouch and Warner Music Group? Kashish, if you'd like to start.
Absolutely. Hightouch is the leading data activation platform. So we help activate data in your data cloud and share it with your business team, such as sales and marketing. So you want to run your ad campaigns, lifecycle marketing campaigns, sales ops campaigns, all from your data warehouse, and that's what we provide.
And Tom, from Warner's standpoint.
Yes, so Warner Music Group, we are a music entertainment company. Essentially, we operate across recorded music, music publishing, and artist services. And currently, we're supporting roughly 1,700 different brands and artists.
Wow. Great to have a baseline on both. Kashish, to start with, I want to get your perspective on current market conditions. What's the data showing you, and why is having actionable data more important now than ever before?
Yeah, in the current market condition, what we see all the time is a couple things. So more than ever, it's important to utilize all the data that you have in your company in order to move the needle, right? So for example, let's say you have a list of users that have already purchased your product. You don't want those users to be seeing ads about the same product they already bought. That's a classic example of a campaign that folks would run with Hightouch, which is to exclude those users from future marketing campaigns. You see the same thing for other types of database marketing. So whereas paying for an ad, you have to pay dollars to Google or Facebook in order to advertise that user. On the other hand, your existing database is free to market. So many of our customers will utilize Hightouch as well as their lifecycle marketing tool like Salesforce Marketing Cloud, Braze, or Iterable, and really activate that data for the purposes of converting their users. That becomes really important in this market, especially when you want to save money on your ad spend and increase the return on ad spend. What we also see is actually wanting to use the data infrastructure you already have in your companies in order to get the same ROI that you would otherwise. So instead of setting up new SaaS tools, new data integration products in order to then run the campaigns that you want to run, we encourage our customers to use what they already have, their data cloud with Snowflake, and activate the data they already have in their company to see that marketing ROI.
It's efficiency driving impact, really.
Yeah.
From your perspective, you have an unbelievable client lineup, including Fortune 500 enterprises. What are they sharing with you, and how are they adapting to this ever-changing environment?
Yeah, well, the beautiful thing is that they're sharing with us that Snowflake is really their customer 360. So back in the day, there was no customer 360. It was always like the utopia, the panacea that you could never achieve. It was like, I want a customer 360, but I have 10 databases. I have 20 business units. Like Warner Music Group, for example, they support 1,700 artists. There's no way they're going to have one database with all of the information for all of the customers of all the artists. But with Snowflake, that's actually possible. Like the separation of compute and storage actually made it possible to store all your data in one place. And even though it's a never-ending process of getting that data there, companies are getting there. So we have one of the largest big box pet retailers, one of the 4 large sporting leagues in the US, and Warner Music Group. Those are some of our large customers. And they've actually now built this customer 360 in their data cloud. And that's actually the hard part. So what Snowflake has enabled them to do, the years of work that they've done with Snowflake was the hard part. Data activation is the last mile. And so that's the last few days of work, get the data in front of the sales and marketing teams and empower them to create business impact.
That's what it's all about, making the best decisions off the data that they have. Tom, I want to get into Warner Music Group real quick. How are you benefiting from Hightouch, and how does it impact really your day-to-day decision making?
Yeah, so Hightouch has really kind of opened doors for us in terms of activating our data. Honestly, it's really helped in terms of streamlining any of that segmentation, then syndication for our marketers. Really what we're trying our best to do is to get the audiences downstream to whatever platforms that they need that they'll be leveraging to activate. So that's been incredibly helpful on that front. And then separately, I guess, it's really essentially the combination of Snowflake and Hightouch. It's kind of formed this cornerstone for our consumer intelligence platform.
We're going to dive into that exact question a little bit later in the interview. Tom, tell us a little bit about the marketing team at WMG. How are they using data, and how important is data in your overall digital marketing efforts?
Sure. So within the music entertainment industry, there's always something to be speaking to your fans about, whether we're talking about an album release, a merch drop, or even an upcoming tour. And so that's really, there's an ongoing conversation there, but it's really important for us to use our data critically for us to identify which of our consumers really want to hear about that information and when. So from there, It's a matter of connecting them with the artist and making sure that we could obviously move the needle for the company. It's been honestly pivotal for us as we've really worked through that whole process and establishing our data sources, pulling that in, and putting that at our marketers' fingertips.
You know, you can hear the buzz and the excitement. We're at the New York stop of the Snowflake Data Cloud World Tour. How does the partnership with Snowflake, I know we covered it already throughout this interview, but Kashish, from your standpoint, position Hightouch for the future?
Well, I mean, for us, the key is to be working with the most modern data warehouse or data cloud solution. And you can see it like in almost every single customer we talk to. They say, well, I'm using this today, but I'm going to use Snowflake at some point. And so that's like really where the industry is moving towards, right? It's that they want to use Snowflake as their data cloud. It's inevitable that there's a reason why like so much of us are holding Snowflake stock. It is inevitable that they will transition to Snowflake. And for us, we want to serve the most modern data teams and the most modern marketing analytics teams. So those are usually the folks that will make the switch earlier on to using their data warehouse or their data cloud as the source of data for their go-to-market systems.
Right.
For the longest time, your data cloud was really the place where data would end up. You'd build BI reports out of it, and that's the end. There would really be no next step. It would be, hey, marketing team, hey, sales team, here's your dashboard. Download the CSV, view the data there, and you'd get those users looking at the data maybe once a month at best.
Which seems so stale in current times.
Right. And it's not so far-fetched to then send that data to like a system of record like Salesforce or like a marketing cloud. And you had companies building those pipelines internally. So Warner Music Group, for example, like I think you guys had those pipelines internally. We're just the first SaaS tool to make it really easy to spin those up in 5 minutes. So like how it works is you give us a SQL query. Usually you already have one in your BI tool or your modeling layer. And then we send those results to your marketing tool or your sales tool in order to empower those users downstream. So because it's so easy to set up, it just made it possible for people to do, again, that work they've been doing for years and just spend an extra 5 or 10 minutes to activate it and empower their marketing teams.
You know, Tom, from your standpoint, anything to add on the Hightouch plus Snowflake, partnership as it relates to Warner?
Yeah, so honestly, it's really kind of changed things for us, especially in terms of, like I mentioned, that data activation element. Really, we've been able to essentially kind of tap into data sources that were normally very much fragmented. And through the process of overlaying those data sets, we've been able to enrich our audiences, which just better helps our marketers. We have a more accurate audience for them. Separately, I mean, even just from an efficiency standpoint, we're looking at, just the other day, we had a request that came in and we had essentially it touched on 8 different data points across 4 different sources. And from the moment the request came in to when the audience had been synced, it was under an hour.
Under an hour?
Under an hour.
That's amazing.
Wow.
So yeah, previously, honestly, that would have stretched across several different platforms, potentially even owned by different teams. And we might have had an introduction there for room for error in all that passing and managing the data. So it's been really helpful on that front as well.
Gentlemen, I want to get personal a little bit. I want to get your advice. Would you like to give the audience, any recommendations as it relates to data activation and positioning their companies for success into the future? Kashish, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, I guess one thing to think about is as your go-to-market teams are asking you for more and more data to optimize their processes, what I'd encourage you to think about is, do we already have the infrastructure and the data necessary in order to help those teams? And if so, do we really need to set up completely new systems, like completely new marketing clouds in order to serve those teams? And oftentimes the answer is no. Oftentimes the answer is that Snowflake actually can serve that need as long as you empower Snowflake with a pipeline out like Hightouch and really just enable the data and the analysis that you've already done. That honestly simplifies your company rather than makes it more complex because then you are not adding more and more data silos.
Tom, from your perspective, anything to add?
I would say that, data is key, pun intended there. Essentially, with that, maybe 3 other kind of sub-bullets, really, one, you're gonna need some patience. Everyone has a plan on how to integrate a data source, and then you see what the API looks like. So that's one aspect. Secondly, communication.
I think it's essential.
Yeah, communication is essential. Honestly, in terms of just giving progress updates to your management, as well as speaking with the team in the trenches, honestly, it will really help bring the best performance and products to the surface. And then lastly, I'd argue, if it weren't obvious already, that you shouldn't really just try and aggregate your data put it into your data cloud, and then look at it under a microscope. If you're going through all that effort to manage the inbound, manage the warehouse, then overlay your BI tool, you might as well take all of that and make that work for you. Set up your team so that they can leverage and reverse ETL, export that, and activate that data.
You know, it's an exciting next chapter. I want to thank both of you, Hightouch, Warner Music Group, on Data Cloud Now. An exciting next chapter. I'm Ryan Green. We'll see you soon.